Igor was an 18-year-old boy who, despite his young age, displayed a resolve and attitude that many adults lacked. On a particularly sunny day, while walking along the bustling city sidewalks, he came across a commotion that caught his attention. In front of an elegant restaurant, an unpleasant scene was unfolding, marked by shouts echoing down the street. Marcelo, the restaurant owner, was a robust man with a severe expression, yelling at an elderly couple. They wore simple clothes, denoting humility, and were huddled together under the fury of the younger man. "This is not a charity place. You have to pay the bill," Marcelo bellowed, pointing an accusatory finger at the elderly couple. Clotilde, the elderly woman with silver hair and tear-filled eyes, tried to explain in a trembling voice, "We really forgot the money at home and didn't bring any cards." Next to her, Manuel, a man with a posture bent by the weight of the years, added, "And this thing about paying by phone, we don't know how to use it, never needed it before." Despite the couple's pleas, Marcelo remained relentless. "You're just trying to trick me. I won't be made a fool of by two old folks," he asserted, the indignation coloring his words with a sharp coldness. Manuel, trying to maintain his dignity despite the embarrassment, calmly proposed, "Sir, if you let us go home, we can bring the money later." Marcelo's response was an increase in fury. "I won't fall for your lies. I'm calling the police." It was then that Igor, who had been observing the situation from the beginning, felt he couldn't stand by idly. Moving towards the restaurant owner, he intervened, "That's no way to talk to an elderly couple, sir." Marcelo turned to the young man, his eyes flashing with anger. "And who are you, their lawyer or their son?" he sneered with a sarcastic smile. Remaining serious and firm, Igor replied, "If the problem is money, I can pay for what they consumed." Marcelo's laugh was filled with disdain. "This restaurant doesn't serve cheap food that any kid could pay for." Without hesitation, Igor turned to Clotilde and asked, "How much was the bill?" In a low voice, the elderly woman stated the amount. Igor opened his wallet and checked its contents. It was the money he had saved to buy a birthday present for his girlfriend. Despite his internal dilemma, Igor made a quick decision. He handed the money to Marcelo, saying, "Here it is. Leave them alone." Marcelo, taking the money with a look of disdain, walked away without a word of thanks. The elderly couple, visibly relieved, thanked Igor, their words laden with gratitude. "Thank you very much, young man. You have a big heart," said Manuel, while Clotilde nodded, her eyes still wet. Igor just nodded, feeling a mix of satisfaction for having helped and concern about his girlfriend's present. He walked away, leaving the couple behind, lost in his thoughts. As he walked, he reflected on the situation. Marcelo's attitude deeply troubled him, but knowing he had done the right thing brought a faint comfort. He knew he would face a challenge explaining this situation to his girlfriend, but something inside him told him she would understand. As he walked away, Igor barely noticed the glances of other pedestrians who had witnessed the act of courage and compassion. Deep down, he felt more adult at that moment than ever before, aware that difficult decisions are often the most rewarding. As the distance between him and the restaurant grew, his mind was already planning how to make it up to his girlfriend, determined to make her next birthday truly special. The next day, Igor was walking down the street towards Isabella's house, his heart heavy with a mix of sadness and hope. He hadn't been able to buy a birthday present for her, but he believed Isabella would understand his reasons once he explained the situation. As he entered Isabella's house, he was immediately engulfed by the bustle of a surprise party. The house was filled with guests, music, and laughter filled the air, reflecting Isabella's popularity. Igor had difficulty finding Isabella amidst the festive chaos. When he located her, he hugged her and whispered that he needed to talk to her in private. Isabella, sensing the seriousness in his voice, agreed, though confused by his urgency. Together, they went to the backyard, seeking a bit more tranquility. "This place is really busy," Igor observed, looking around. "We need to find a more private spot." Isabella, with a smile and a look of apology crossing her face, said, "The house is full, I invited a lot of people. Even in my room, my friends are getting ready there." Resigned, Igor nodded, "It's okay, I just need to tell you something." "Sure, go ahead." Isabella encouraged, her curiosity evident. Igor took a deep breath, his face contorting in discomfort. "I couldn't buy your birthday present, I ran out of money." "I hope you don't mind." Isabella's expression changed, a mix of surprise and disappointment. "But you were working and saving, as you told me." "Yes, I was, but something came up, and I had to deal with it," Igor began, interrupted by Isabella's incisive question. "Something more important than your girlfriend's happiness?" Igor felt the weight of his next words. "I had to use the money to pay the bill for an elderly couple who were being mistreated at a restaurant. They couldn't pay, and the restaurant owner, Marcello, was about to call the police." Isabella frowned, recognizing the name. "Marcello, Flavio's father?" Igor confirmed with a nod, his tone laden with disgust. "Yes, Flavio, who always uses his father's wealth to get ahead." The irritation on Isabella's face grew. "You chose to help two strangers instead of buying my present?" Her voice rose more than she intended, drawing curious looks. "I did what I thought was right," Igor defended himself, the tension evident in his voice. Isabella shook her head, unable to understand his choice. "I don't understand, Igor. How could you think that was more important? I was counting on you to buy what I wanted and didn't ask anyone else. Look, the room is full of presents, everyone gave me something, except you." The argument intensified, each word charged with emotion and misunderstandings. After a few tense minutes, Isabella made a painful decision. "It's over between us. I don't want you here anymore. I've never felt so disrespected by someone in my life. Leave, we're not dating anymore," she said, her voice firm but trembling. Igor, desolate, left the party feeling each step like a stab. On his way out, he saw Flavio entering with a large present, a mocking smile on his face. "See you around, and stay in the shadows," Flavio said, trying to irritate Igor and knowing something had happened. That image was the last straw for Igor, solidifying the bitterness in his heart. He walked back home under the cover of night, reflecting on the choices he had made. The solitude of the walk allowed for introspection, and as the city lights flickered in the distance, Igor pondered the complexity of human relationships and the cost of his decisions. He arrived home, not just physically but emotionally exhausted, knowing that Isabella's birthday would be remembered not for the celebration but for the end of something he cherished deeply. A few days after the breakup with Isabella, Igor was still trying to get his life back on track. He worked part-time at a local bookstore, a place that usually provided him with calm and escape through books. However, that afternoon, as he left work, his heart still weighed heavy with recent events. He decided to pass through the central square of the city, a place where he liked to reflect. In the square, under the swaying shadows of trees dancing in the gentle breeze, Igor spotted Clotilde and Manuel, the elderly couple he had helped earlier at the restaurant. They were sitting on a bench, calmly watching the people go by. Igor approached them with a slight wave. "Hi, Clotilde and Manuel," he greeted, trying to muster a smile. Clotilde looked up, recognizing the young man with a welcoming smile. "Igor, it's good to see you. Come, sit here with us for a bit, we want to talk," she invited, gesturing to the space beside her on the bench. Igor nodded and sat down, grateful for their company. "How are you?" "We're well, Thanks to your kindness that day at the restaurant, Manuel replied, before adding with a grateful tone, we really don't know how to thank you enough. Clotilde, observing more closely, noticed the sadness in Igor's eyes. You look a bit down, dear, what happened? Igor sighed, honesty weighing in his words. My girlfriend broke up with me because I didn't buy her birthday present. Clotilde and Manuel exchanged a concerned look, feeling partially responsible. Igor, we're very sorry, Manuel said sincerely. I know it's painful to end a relationship. I went through it many years ago, but I still remember the pain. Yes, but sometimes these things happen for a reason, Manuel continued, trying to offer some comfort. Maybe in time you'll see this as an opportunity to grow and perhaps find someone who will truly stand by your side until the end. Manuel looked at Clotilde, whose presence beside him reinforced his words. Clotilde has always been the right person for me, and we found each other when we least expected it. Igor nodded, absorbing the advice. Maybe it's for the best, he murmured. I don't want to change who I am just to please someone. But it's hard. Sometimes I feel like no one will like me for who I am. Clotilde laughed gently, encouraging, oh, Igor, you're so young. Life has so much more to offer you, and you're mature for your age, something really rare these days. I'm sure you'll find someone special. Thank you, Clotilde, Manuel. You always have a way of making me see things from a better perspective, Igor said with a more genuine smile appearing on his face. They spent more time talking, sharing stories from their own youths, each anecdote weaving a tapestry of resilience and enduring love. Igor listened attentively, finding not only distraction but also valuable lessons in the couple's experiences. When it was time to say goodbye, Igor felt renewed by the support and wisdom Clotilde and Manuel had given him. Thank you for everything today. You really helped me see things differently, he said as he stood up. Whenever you need us, we're here, Manuel said, giving Igor a light pat on the shoulder. Igor waved to them as he walked away, feeling a bit lighter. He knew he still had challenges ahead, but Clotilde and Manuel's words resonated in his heart, a reminder that life, despite its ups and downs, always offered new opportunities for growth and happiness. With this thought, he walked back home, ready to face whatever came next, with a new sense of hope and determination. On his way back home, after the comforting conversation with the elderly couple, Igor casually ran into Raphael, a friend who worked at Marcelo's restaurant, the same place where the incident with the elderly couple had occurred. Raphael looked exhausted and worried, a shadow of tension evident on his face. Hi, Igor, Raphael greeted, his voice filled with anxiety. I need to talk to you about something serious. Curious and concerned, Igor stopped to listen. Sure, Raphael, what's going on? Raphael looked around as if afraid of being overheard before continuing. On the day you helped the elderly couple, I saw something at the restaurant. Flavio, Marcelo's son, was taking money from the cash register. Igor raised an eyebrow, surprised by the revelation. Really? How so? Raphael sighed, the weight of the words visibly affecting him. Flavio pressures the employees to give him money from the register and not tell Marcelo. Once, a colleague refused, and Flavio got his father to fire him. Everyone is afraid of him. That's awful, Raphael, Igor responded, the indignation clear in his voice. You had to give him money too? Yes, Raphael confessed, frustrated. I hate doing it, but I need the job. I live alone, and the bills don't pay themselves. Igor pondered for a moment, determination growing inside him. Let's find a solution to this. Maybe I can help you find another job, something away from Flavio and his manipulations. Raphael thanked him with a nod, clearly relieved to have someone to share the burden with. Thank you, Igor. I really need to get out of this situation. The two shook hands and Igor continued his way home, thoughtful about the challenges his friends faced. When he arrived home, Igor found his mother, Lucia, resting on the couch. She looked tired, the effects of her 2 jobs visible on her face and posture. Lucia had always struggled to support the household, especially since her husband's death. "Mom, you're overworking yourself. You need to take better care of your health," Igor expressed his concern, sitting beside her. Lucia smiled, a smile that hid her fatigue. "I can manage, my love. And I have you to help me, don't I?" Igor nodded, feeling responsible and determined to ease his mother's burden. He knew that his salary wasn't enough to cover all the expenses, especially with the economic crisis driving up the prices of everything. This concern led him to seek alternatives to increase the family's income. That night, while browsing the internet for business ideas, an idea came to him. He remembered his late father's old recycling machine, stored in the garage and still functional. "Maybe I can use this," Igor thought, envisioning a way to collect recyclable materials and sell them to generate extra income. Excited by the prospect, Igor began planning how he could implement his new business plan. He made a list of the most valued recyclable materials in the market, such as paper, plastic, and metal. The next day, he started collecting these materials in his neighborhood, explaining his new project to the neighbors and asking for their cooperation. Igor was determined to expand his recycling project, seeing not only a business opportunity but also a chance to contribute to the cleanliness and sustainability of his city. With some savings, he bought large bins specifically designated for different types of recyclables: metal, plastic, paper, and organic. One day, he visited various commercial establishments in his neighborhood, explaining his project and asking for permission to place his bins on their properties. His friendliness and enthusiasm were contagious, and one by one, the owners agreed to help him. Determined to leave no stone unturned, Igor even approached Marcelo, the owner of the restaurant where his friend Rafael worked. "Mr. Marcelo, could I place one of my recycling bins here? It would be a great help for my recycling project," Igor asked hopefully. Marcelo, with his typical gruffness, just laughed. "This isn't a dump, kid. I don't want those things here," he replied, dismissing Igor's idea without further consideration. Despite the rejection, Igor didn't get discouraged. He continued his work with determination. One day, while transporting a bag of cans through the city, he encountered Clotilde and Manuel sitting on the park bench. "Igor, what are you carrying there?" Manuel asked, pointing to the bulky bag. Igor smiled, happy to explain, "I'm starting a small recycling business. I placed bins in some stores with the owner's permission. I collect the trash and take it to my garage every day. My dad had a trash compactor machine, and I'm using it to compact the material. Then I take it to companies that buy recyclables. With this, I can make some extra money and help keep the city cleaner." Clotilde looked at the young man with an expression of admiration. "At just 18 years old, you see gold where others only see trash." "That's amazing," she commented proudly. "Do you want help with the bags?" Manuel offered, already getting up from the bench. Igor hesitated for a moment, but Clotilde and Manuel insisted and helped Igor carry some bags. Together, they went to Igor's house, where he introduced his mother, Lucia. Seeing her, Clotilde noticed the fatigue on her face. "Are you okay, Lucia?" she asked, concerned. "Yes, just tired," Lucia replied with a tired but sincere smile. After a brief conversation about Igor's project and the benefits of recycling, the couple said goodbye, promising to help in any way they could. Igor thanked them, touched by their generosity and support. "Mom, I'm doing the right thing, aren't I?" Igor asked while watching the couple walk away. Lucia put her hand on her son's shoulder. You're doing more than the right thing, Igor. You're showing that even small actions can make a big difference. I'm very proud of you. With his mother's support and the unexpected help of Clotilde and Manuel, Igor felt even more motivated to move forward with his venture, reaffirming his commitment to making a positive change in his community. Lucia's birthday was fast approaching, and for Igor, it was more than just a date. It was his mother's first birthday since his father's death, and he was determined to do something special to brighten her day, to show how much he loved and appreciated everything she did for him. After a few weeks of saving money with his recycling project, Igor finally had enough to take his mother to a special place. On the birthday day, he approached her with a smile. "Mom, we're going to a restaurant today to celebrate your birthday." Lucia, always modest and unassuming, smiled and shook her head. "You didn't have to, Igor. I'm happy just to be with you." But Igor insisted, full of enthusiasm, "I insist, Mom. It's going to be a special day for you." They both got ready and went to Marcelo's restaurant. Despite the past experiences in Marcelo's presence, which Igor preferred to avoid, he chose this place because he knew it served his mother's favorite dish. Entering the restaurant, Igor felt relieved to see that Marcelo was not present. For a moment, he thought they could have a quiet night. However, just minutes after they sat down, Igor saw Flavio and Isabella entering the restaurant hand in hand, both flaunting rings. Igor's heart sank a bit seeing Isabella, remembering their past together and how things had changed so drastically. Flavio and Isabella seemed to notice Igor and started exchanging looks and laughs, clearly talking about him. Igor tried to ignore them, focusing on making the night perfect for his mother. Unaware of the tension, Lucia got up to go to the bathroom. It was then that Flavio and Isabella seized the opportunity to approach Igor, who was sitting alone. "I heard you're a garbage collector now," Flavio said with a mocking smile. Isabella laughed, correcting Flavio condescendingly. "Not a garbage collector, Flavio. He's a can collector now." The two laughed together, and Igor felt a pang of humiliation but remained calm. He knew he didn't want to cause a scene, especially not in front of his mother. Flavio shrugged. "Still laughing, let's go, love. He's not worth it. Poor guy has to collect cans to survive." Isabella cast one last look at Igor, her words filled with contempt. "I'm glad I broke up with you." Igor just watched as they walked away, thinking to himself about the sadness of their existence, based on mocking others to feel superior. When his mother returned, Igor smiled genuinely, happy to have her by his side. "Isn't the food great, Mom?" Lucia, oblivious to the confrontation, agreed, smiling while savoring her favorite dish. "It's delicious, dear. Thank you for this day." They continued their meal, celebrating Lucia's birthday in their own bubble of happiness. Igor felt grateful to be able to give his mother this moment of joy, despite everything. The next day, while Igor walked through the city, his hands held tightly to the bags full of recyclables, heavy but filled with the hope of a slightly more stable future. The streets were busy, but the weight of the bags did not diminish Igor's determined pace. Clotilde and Manuel, who had become friends and mentors to Igor since that meeting at the restaurant, spotted him from afar. Without hesitation, they approached to help. "Igor, let us help with those bags," offered Manuel, grabbing some of them. Clotilde followed suit, relieving Igor of a few more bags. "Thank you, really," Igor thanked, the relief clear in his voice. Together, the three of them walked to Igor's house. Upon arriving, an alarming scene awaited them. Lucia, Igor's mother, was lying on the floor, a look of discomfort and dizziness marking her face. Igor ran to her, desperate. "Mom," he exclaimed, helping her up carefully and settling her on the nearest couch. Clotilde, with the serenity of someone who had lived many years and faced various crises, approached and took Lucia's pulse, examining her with concern. "My dear, you need to see a doctor." "This isn't normal," she said, with a voice that mixed worry with maternal affection. Lucia, still catching her breath, just nodded. "I will, Clotilde." "Thank you." The next day, Igor accompanied his mother to the doctor, a name recommended by Clotilde. While waiting in the private clinic, Igor couldn't help but worry, not only about his mother's health, but also about the cost of treatments in such a well-equipped clinic. After a series of tests, the doctor finally called them back to discuss the results. With a smile that immediately relieved some of Igor's worries, the doctor announced, "It's nothing serious, fortunately. Lucia is just exhausted from working so much and a bit malnourished. She hasn't been eating well." Relieved, Igor and Lucia listened as the doctor recommended a proper diet and more rest. When Lucia, hesitant, asked about the cost of the consultation and tests, the doctor replied with a kindness that surprised them, "Don't worry about the payments. Clotilde and Manuel are good friends of mine and referred you. I'm very grateful to them, and it's a pleasure to help." Leaving the clinic, Igor and Lucia were amazed by the kindness and support of those around them. Igor felt immense gratitude, not only for the financial help, but for the moral support that Clotilde and Manuel continued to offer. "I need to find Clotilde to thank her personally," said Igor as they walked back home. "They have been more than friends, they have been our family." Lucia, still a bit weak but visibly more at ease, agreed, "Yes, they are angels in our lives. We need to think about how to repay their generosity." The next day, while the sun was still rising and painting the leaves of the trees in the central square a golden hue, Igor spotted Clotilde and Manuel sitting on their usual bench. He quickened his steps, grateful for the opportunity to express his gratitude in person. "Clotilde, Manuel, good morning," he exclaimed with a smile. "I just wanted to thank you again for everything you did for my mother." The two smiled and Clotilde waved, downplaying the seriousness of the thanks. "Oh, dear, we're just glad it wasn't anything serious." "How is she today?" "Better, much better, thanks to you." Igor looked at them with a warm expression of gratitude. "In our gratitude, we'd like to invite you to dinner at our house tonight. It would be an honor to have you with us." "We accept with pleasure," replied Manuel with a broad smile. "It will be a pleasure to have dinner with you." In the evening, when Clotilde and Manuel arrived at Lucia's house, they were greeted by a delicious aroma emanating from the kitchen. Lucia had prepared a meal worthy of a five-star restaurant. The couple sat at the table, admiring the presentation of the dishes, before starting to eat. "Wow, Lucia, this is delicious," Clotilde commented after tasting the first bite, a sincere compliment lighting up her face. "Did you take any cooking courses?" Lucia laughed softly, shaking her head. "No, I never took any courses. I just like to cook. I work as a cook at a small diner and also do odd jobs as a housekeeper. Cooking has always been an important part of my life." Igor interjected, joking to lighten the moment of compliments that embarrassed his mother a bit. "My mom's food has always been the best. As for me, well, I can't make anything decent in the kitchen," he said, eliciting laughs from the couple. Clotilde, still laughing, shared her own confession. "I never learned to cook well either, like Manuel. That's why we go to so many restaurants and diners." After the meal, while Igor insisted on cleaning the kitchen, Clotilde and Manuel made a point of helping, getting up to take the dishes to the kitchen. They talked softly as they washed the dishes, a murmur that intrigued Igor and Lucia. It seemed that both were up to something. When they finally finished, with a conspiratorial gleam in their eyes, Clotilde announced, "Forgive us for speaking softly. We were planning a little surprise." In 2 weeks, we'll bring a gift for you. Lucia and Igor exchanged curious glances, promising patience. Lucia was especially touched by their kindness, feeling lucky to have such kind people in their lives. These are good people, Igor. You can trust them, Lucia said as she closed the door behind the departing friends. Igor agreed, feeling incredibly fortunate to have Clotilde and Manuel in his life. The evening had been more than just a meal, it had been a celebration of new friendships and the support network they continued to weave together. 2 weeks had passed since Clotilde and Manuel promised a surprise to Igor and Lucia, but the couple's absence from their usual spot in the square began to raise concerns. Igor looked at the empty bench every day, hoping to see them smiling and waving at him, but they never appeared. "Do you think something happened, Mom?" Igor asked repeatedly, his voice laden with worry. Lucia tried to stay calm, but the couple's prolonged absence began to bother her too. Maybe they're traveling, Igor, or maybe they're just busy. However, another week dragged on without news of Clotilde and Manuel, intensifying the anxiety of mother and son. On a quiet Sunday at home, while Lucia and Igor were in the kitchen, the sound of an approaching car caught their attention. They both went to the window, peeking at a luxury car that parked in front of their simple house. An elegantly dressed middle-aged woman got out of the vehicle. Her dark glasses and sad expression seemed out of place on that sunny morning. The woman walked to the door and knocked. Lucia, cautiously, opened the door, with Igor by her side. "Good morning," said the woman in a soft voice. "I'm Anna, Clotilde and Manuel's daughter." Igor and Lucia exchanged surprised looks. "Clotilde and Manuel's daughter?" Igor murmured more to himself than to the visitor. Anna noticed their hesitation and quickly explained, "I know it seems strange, and I understand the mistrust. I came here because my mother, Clotilde, is calling for you." She took her cell phone from her pocket and dialed a number, handing the phone to Lucia. After a few seconds, Lucia, still uncertain, brought the phone to her ear. "Clotilde?" she asked softly. The conversation that followed was brief, but the words Lucia heard were enough to make her heart sink. When she hung up, she turned to Igor with a somber expression. "Manuel has passed away, Igor." The silence that followed was heavy, filled with shock and sadness. Anna looked at them with empathy. "My father always spoke highly of you. I wanted to come personally to take you. I'm sorry that we are meeting under such sad circumstances." Without further hesitation, Lucia and Igor got into Anna's car, heading to the couple's house, now just Clotilde's. Upon arrival, they found a large and elegant residence in a luxurious neighborhood, where several people had already gathered for Manuel's wake. Clotilde greeted them with a tight hug and tears in her eyes. "Thank you for coming," she whispered, holding both Lucia and Igor. During the wake, Igor reflected on the loss, feeling the weight of Manuel's death so soon after his own father's. It was a painful reminder of how fragile human connections were, but also of how deep they could be. "It's a difficult time, Mom," Igor said to Lucia as they watched Clotilde talking with the guests, "but I'm grateful that Clotilde and Manuel came into our lives. They showed us so much kindness." Lucia nodded, holding Igor's hand. "They are good people, and now we will be here for Clotilde, just as she and Manuel were here for us." Clotilde called Igor and Lucia to a more private corner of the large room, where friends and family were gathered to honor Manuel. The environment, though solemn, had a palpable human warmth, with low voices intertwining in memories and mutual comfort. "I want to apologize for not having gone to see you," Clotilde began, her voice firm despite the evident sadness. "Manuel fell ill suddenly, and everything happened very quickly. There was no time." Igor, feeling the weight of Clotilde's words, expressed his regret. "I'm very sorry, Clotilde. We're here for whatever you need." Clotilde smiled faintly, a shadow of gratitude passing through her eyes. I know you might be surprised by the house, she continued, looking around at the walls that told stories of a full but discreet life. Manuel and I were never ones to splurge. We always preferred simplicity. Our best moments were those spent in the square, just talking. Igor nodded, understanding. We never would have guessed. You always seemed like a simple couple, content with what you had. The greatest wealth I had was Manuel, Clotilde replied, emotion coloring her voice. That made me richer than any material thing. As they said their goodbyes, Clotilde made a point of mentioning one last thing. I will visit you soon. Manuel set aside a gift for you, and I am determined to deliver it personally. Anna, Clotilde's daughter, offered them another ride home. Inside the car was a young, sad girl, Rosa, Clotilde and Manuel's granddaughter, also grieving the loss of her grandfather. During the ride, Anna took the opportunity to talk to Igor. My father always spoke highly of you, Igor, she said, keeping her eyes on the road. He saw a young man with a bright future in you. Igor thanked her, touched by the words, that means a lot to me, coming from Manuel. Anna then revealed more about her position in the family. After my parents retired, I took over the responsibility for their businesses. It's not easy to find people with your qualities, Igor. Igor listened, surprised and somewhat anxious about where this conversation might lead, and that's why I want to offer you a position at the company, Anna continued. Of course, you would start at the bottom, but I'm confident that your qualities will make you rise quickly. Igor, surprised and flattered, replied promptly, it would be a pleasure to work for your family's company. I'm willing to learn and grow. Anna smiled, a smile that mixed respect with a well-grounded decision. I'm not doing this out of kindness alone, Igor. You deserve this opportunity. I know about your initiatives, your efforts with recycling, all through my parents. You have great potential. When he got home, Igor got out of the car, still processing the opportunities opening up before him. Anna waved goodbye, and Rosa, still quiet, gave a shy wave. Thank you, Anna. See you soon, Igor said as he climbed the steps to his house, thoughtful about the new paths unfolding before him. On a sunny afternoon, Clotilde made an unexpected visit to Igor's house, bringing news that would further change the dynamics of everyone's lives. With a gentle smile and an air of renewal, she greeted Igor warmly before turning to Lucia, with a clear purpose in mind. Igor, congratulations on your new position. Anna told me everything, and we're proud of you, Clotilde began, before turning to Lucia. Lucia, I have something special to discuss with you. Lucia, somewhat surprised and curious, invited Clotilde to sit down. What's going on, Clotilde? Manuel and I, before his passing, bought a restaurant that was almost going bankrupt, Clotilde explained, her hands clasped in her lap. We thought a lot and came to the conclusion that you would be perfect to manage it and create the menu. You have an exceptional talent for cooking, and we believe in your ability to transform this place. Lucia, both touched and flattered, hesitated, but I've never managed a restaurant before, Clotilde. I'm not sure I can do it. Clotilde smiled, conveying confidence and reassurance. You won't be alone, Lucia. Our team is there to help, and I will be with you every step of the way. With Clotilde's encouragement, Lucia accepted the challenge, motivated by the trust the couple had placed in her. A few days later, she began working at the restaurant, learning to manage the business and creating a menu that quickly garnered attention for its quality and creativity. The location of Lucia's restaurant, surprisingly close to Marcelo's, added a new layer of tension. Marcelo, Flavio, and Isabella often passed by the place, casting suspicious and resentful glances towards the new venture flourishing under Lucia's management. Raphael, Igor's friend who worked at Marcelo's restaurant, resigned after disputes and dissatisfaction with Flavio's corrupt management. He was immediately hired by Lucia. The transition brought new vigor to the restaurant, which continued to grow in popularity, attracting many of Marcelo's former clients. The fierce competition exacerbated the already existing difficulties at Marcelo's restaurant, whose reputation and clientele dwindled with each passing day. Marcelo, unable to see his own failures and the poor financial management led by his son, blamed Lucia for the decline of his business. However, the truth about Flavio's embezzlement of money soon came to light. Marcelo, after catching Flavio red-handed, became so enraged that he not only kicked him out of the house, but also took drastic measures to try to save his restaurant. Unfortunately, it was too late. With no financial resources and a ruined reputation, Marcelo's restaurant went bankrupt and closed permanently. After the restaurant's collapse, Marcelo and Flavio disappeared from the local scene, leaving many questions unanswered about their whereabouts or fate. Igor, although curious, focused on supporting his mother and Clotilde, recognizing that the true victory lay in the honesty and community they had strengthened around Lucia's restaurant. On a quiet morning, Igor was busy sweeping the entrance of his mother's restaurant, a routine he had come to appreciate for the peace it brought. The fallen leaves danced in the breeze of the cool autumn wind, and the sun shone gently on the street, promising a busy workday. While he aligned the chairs and adjusted the tables for the day's customers, a familiar voice made him pause. "Hi, Igor," said Isabella, in a soft tone that tried to mask the tension. Igor, without looking back, responded curtly, "Hi." She took a few hesitant steps towards him. "Can I talk to you for a minute?" Igor sighed and turned to face his ex-girlfriend. "What do you want, Isabella?" I never stopped liking you, Igor," she began, avoiding his gaze. "I got together with Flavio, but he tricked me. Now I realize I always liked you." Igor shook his head, clearly unmoved. "I don't feel anything for you anymore, Isabella." She insisted, a hint of desperation in her voice. "But, Igor, we're soulmates, don't you understand?" Igor laughed, a bitter sound. "Soulmates? That's what you think now that my mom has a successful restaurant and I'm working at a big company. It's convenient, isn't it?" "It's not that at all, Igor, I swear," Isabella defended herself. "Ironically, weren't you the one who called me a can collector?" Igor cut her off, challenging. "I thought that was my identity to you." Visibly shaken and nervous, Isabella stumbled over her words. "It was Flavio. He made me say that." Igor laughed again, his disbelief clear. What a terrible excuse. It was then that Rosa, Anna's daughter and Igor's current girlfriend, emerged from the restaurant. With her red curls swaying gently in the wind and a presence that starkly contrasted with her delicate appearance, she quickly approached and held Igor's hand. Without hesitation, she faced Isabella with a fury that made her face almost angelically bright. "Get out of here, girl, why are you flirting with my boyfriend? You have no sense?" The intensity in Rosa's voice caught Isabella completely off guard, making her retreat in fear. She hurried away, leaving Igor and Rosa alone. Igor looked at Rosa, an amused smile on his lips. "Problem solved," she said calmly, still holding his hand firmly. "You're quite fierce," he commented, half impressed, half amused. "It's just my way," Rosa replied, now smiling softly. Together, they entered the restaurant, where they found Lucia and Clotilde talking animatedly. The two women looked at the young couple entering, their faces illuminated by welcoming smiles. "How are things outside?" Lucia asked, noticing Rosa's satisfied expression. "Everything is under control, Mom," Igor replied, exchanging a knowing look with Rosa. The four gathered, chatting cheerfully about the day and the restaurant's plans, further strengthening the bonds that united them not only as family and friends but also as a united team facing the challenges and victories they shared together. Did you like it? Please like, comment, and share so we can post more stories for you. And don't forget to subscribe, it helps us a lot.